Best of 101 Dog Tricks with me, Kira Sundance, and Chelsea. Sit. A dog learns a behavior through repeated successes. We get our dog to perform the behavior, and then we reward it. The trick is often in figuring out how to get him to do the behavior in the first place. Now, the most obvious way to get the behavior is to physically position the dog. With the sit, for example, we could physically press down on the dog's rear to get the behavior. But physically positioning the dog can actually slow down the learning process because the dog is not having to think through the behavior on his own. So instead of physically manipulating your dog, encourage him to follow a treat to get himself into the correct position. This is called luring. So for the sit trick, we're going to take a treat and move it from her nose toward her tail. As I move the treat up, her nose is going to point up, which is going to cause her rear to drop down. The second her rear drops down, I open my hand and release the treat. Very good. Now, training doesn't always go as easily as Chelsea makes it look. Let's try it with some other dogs for a more realistic demonstration. If your dog keeps walking backward instead of sitting, just keep moving the treat toward his tail and he will eventually sit. If your dog jumps at your hand with the treat, hold the treat lower so he can reach it while still on 4 feet. During the learning process, your dog may be squirming and trying a variety of different things. When you reward him with a treat, you have to make sure he understands exactly what it was that he did to earn the treat. The key to helping him understand the goal behavior is by having really precise timing when you give the treat. You have to give him the treat at the exact moment he performed correctly. So, for example, if your dog sits and then he scratches his neck and then you give him the treat, you've just rewarded him for scratching his neck. You've got to get that treat in his mouth the second his rear hits the floor. Seriously, I can't stress this point enough. The correct timing of the treat is the crux of teaching your dog. Once your dog starts to have the hang of this, we're going to fade the food lure and turn it into just a hand signal. Now, hand signals are often derived from the motion that we initially made to lure the dog. So for a sit, when we initially did this, it later turns into a hand signal. By the same concept, the down turns into that, which is how we initially faded our dog down. Very good. Let's recap. Stand or kneel in front of your dog and hold a treat a little above his head. Move the treat back toward your dog's tail. The instant your dog's rear touches the floor, give him the treat. Later, fade the lure and replace it with a hand signal. A sit is often the first trick a dog learns, and puppies as young as 8 weeks can learn it. Practice a few times every day, and within a week or two, your dog should be sitting on cue.